really appreciative for everyone to come to our live sessions. Okay, so guys, I am running the webinar today on formative assessment that gives students voice and choice. So that's going to be our focus. But before we launch into it, we'll just go through some housekeeping. There's a couple of really important bits of information I need you to be across, particularly for those teachers that are looking for the NESA accreditation for this hour, okay? So firstly, look, your control panel, which you'll see is on, it's a little floating toolbar, but it should probably be on the right-hand side of your screen. If you click on the arrow, it will expand that menu for you. And what you'll be able to see there is your options to come off mute if you're brave enough to come and ask a question. I'm totally happy for you to do that. That's no worries at all. But if you feel like you want to either just raise your hand, could be an opportunity there to give me the heads up, if you like, before you come off mute. Or there's also our chat down here, okay? So if you want to ask a question, there's a little chat box where you can just pop them in. Now, because I am on my lonesome today, I will try and keep an eye out for the questions that come up. Sometimes I get lost in my prezzo, so I might kind of miss it, but I'll try and remember to keep having a look there. So that's for questions and how to kind of use the navigation tool. So guys, look, if you are looking for a certificate, and that certificate is just sort of, so this little guy here, you can, after this, when this session gets uploaded to our training.smarttech.com, housed on our website, you'll be able to go to certification and sign in. You'll find our webinar that we have for the day here, and by title, and you can watch that or sort of skim there to the end there, and then the certificate will come up, and you'll need to sort of sign in. There's a little sort of sign in button up there, and you'll be able to generate yourself this pretty little certificate. In saying that though, for those of you wanting to have a NESA accredited hour for this one here, it's really important that you just are aware of some of the measures that we need to take when we do our webinars. And you can imagine from NESA, they're really sort of quite strict around this, and that we really have to sort of follow these particular measures. So I need you to help me out here. And what we're trying to avoid, obviously, is you guys coming in and popping on the webinar and then going and making yourself a cup of tea and doing your marking. We really need to sort of know that you're engaging meaningfully with this content. So the way that we are going to do that is that we will send out a survey, okay? So it's going to pop up at the end of this webinar, and that survey will give us some key bits of information. For example, your name and your NESA number, which is obviously super, super important, okay? So that survey will also have a couple of questions just around the content. So we sort of do know that you have been engaging with the material and that, yeah, some development has happened, if you like. There'll also be some reflection questions. So those reflective questions, they're optional. We always want to improve our webinars, and so we're really, we'd love your feedback in terms of those, you know, how the webinar and the presentation went, okay? So by all means, if you can, that would be awesome. But in terms of the questions that we need for the NESA is questions 1 to 3, okay? So they're compulsory, that you'll need to fill out those questions, and then we get the information that we need. On top of that, we will also be asking you, I've got a couple of activities that we're going to be doing in this session. Nothing too full on. I'm not going to call on you to, you know, give me your top example of formative assessment or anything like that. But the activities that I'll be sort of pushing out, I'll need you to also be participating in those activities. So it might be a little chat function that comes up sort of quickly here, or like a shout it out or something like that, okay? So that's all around the NESA requirements, and I hope you kind of appreciate and understand why we have to have those measures in place for it. Okay, if anyone has any questions around that, pop it in the chat and I can address it at the end. Doesn't look like any questions are coming through, so it must be pretty straightforward. Okay, cool. So if you haven't joined one of my webinars before, I'm Molly Turner and I work for Smart Tech, but I'm a teacher really, essentially, and I have been for 15 years. I've worked in both junior and senior in French and English. I became a Smart Certified Educator about 4 years ago because I was actually really excited about the technology and the effect that it was having in my classroom in terms of like student engagement and even student outcomes. So I became a certified educator and I wanted to help other teachers in their smart journey and building resources and engaging their students as well using smart tech. So did that like 4 years ago, and about was it May last year I joined the team at Smart, and I'm loving it. It's really a fantastic gig. So guys, today what we're going to do is we're really having a look at formative assessment, okay? But in particular, formative assessment that empowers or enables student voice and choice. We know sort of obviously the merits of assessment, but in particular formative assessment these days. And it's a really sort of nice way as well to be able to have these assessments within our classroom that also is empowering our students to take responsibility for their own teaching and learning. So I'm going to go through some creative ideas with you that the smart solutions kind of offer that allow for that to happen. So look, we'll do some of those examples. By no means is it a final list. There are just so many different ideas that you could do in using all the tools and features of both our software and our online platform. But it will definitely give you some great ideas, hopefully inspire you to create something new so that maybe you haven't sort of used what I'm about to show you today in the way that I'm showing you. All right, cool. Just going to check the chat quickly. It's all looking good. Okay. Let's take a breath. So, assessment. Like I said, we know how important it is and how much research has been behind the merits of assessment, and in particular in evaluating sort of students' understanding of information. So we can sort of know where our students are at certain times, that we can plan using that snapshot, if you like, of our students' progress, and that we can plan our lessons and our units around our students and their understanding. That's formative assessment, isn't it? So we have some really great sort of tools that I'll go through for you that really sort of tap into quick and effective formative assessment, okay? The other the awesome thing as well about it is obviously assessment is giving us that feedback as well. So we know that feedback is so vital for our students for their understanding. As you know, as much as we need to know where they're at, they also need to know where they're at and you know what they need to do in order to progress and develop. So we as well, you know, the New South Wales Education Standards Authority has assessment for, as, and of learning, and I don't mean to shut out the rest of the states if you're joining me. It's just that I know more intimately these assessment standards through New South Wales than the other states, but I'm sure it's sort of something really similar in those states. And we're looking at, you know, having a range of assessment. It's not just our summative assessment tasks that we're looking at the end of the day. It's a range of assessment. And just to sort of go through quickly some of those areas that I'd really like to try and pinpoint today is to be able to look at enabling or creating these sorts of assessment pieces that in particular encourages students to take responsibility for their own learning. Okay, so that's something that's really important. And then the other thing as well, just delete that, that didn't come through the way that I wanted it to. The other thing as well that I want to make sure and sort of focus on today is that we're also looking at assessments that provides effective feedback and motivates the learner to lead, that can lead to improvement as well. So that's sort of something as well that I want to be able to draw connections with today. I'm sure you'll be able to see as well from the session today that there'll be lots of these different areas that I sort of touch on. Okay, cool. So there's a little description of what assessment is, but I really don't need to go into that with you guys. Being educators on the line, I'm sure you're well aware of what assessment is supposed to achieve and how you're supposed to sort of think about it in your programs. Cool. I'm going to get you guys to join my digital classroom, please. So look, if you haven't done this before, what I need you to do is if you just pop into hellosmart.com. So I know you're sitting in a browser at the moment, so you might want to pick up your phone just so you can keep the webinar on your computer screen and not have to switch in and out of tabs. So if you picked up your phone, hopefully it's sitting right next to you. If it's not, just open another tab in your browser. And then basically you pop in hellosmart.com to a, I'll get you to do that please in a, not a Google search, it's actually better if you do it in the address bar. So if you just go to hellosmart.com, no spaces, and then join as a guest please. And there's my teacher number that's popping up there, so 3070. So if you pop in my number there, 3070, and sure we've got some people there. Cool. I'm just going to have you sort of waiting just before we launch into one of ours. Now, what I will get everybody to do, please, before we sort of launch into some of my formative assessment examples, I'm just going to quickly create a shout it out because I'd love to know who's on the line and who, well, basically your ideas and examples of formative assessment that you might do in your classroom. So I know we do it in a very informal way as teachers. We're constantly looking at our students and asking them questions and getting them, you know, and hearing the questions that they're asking, and we're kind of, you know, very informally collecting that snapshot or that data, I suppose people call it, on student progress. But what are some of the more formalized ways that you're doing your formative assessment? So for those of you that haven't really sort of seen this, just creating a shout it out just by clicking on my little smart lab icon there, which looks like a space invader to me, and I scroll down to my shout it out. And I'm just going to do a randomized one, and you guys can add as many examples as you want, up to 14. Let's just get nuts. And I'll do text and I can just hit finish. So for those of you that joined my digital classroom, in a second when I hit play, oh, see, I've got these guys in here. Thank you so much. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm just going to take a quick little snapshot of that for my Nessa docs. There we go. I've just saved that little thing for you. That's just for cool. So hopefully a few of you, oh, there's a few that haven't joined. If you are having trouble joining hellosmart.com and popping in and doing this process for me, can you just put it in the chat for me and I can catch up with you and sort of see, but it will be one of those things that I'll be looking at for your NESA requirements. Cool, so I'm going to hit start. I'm going to stop talking. Can you please send me your examples of formative assessment that you might use in your classroom? So what are some of the more formalized examples there? All right, I'll just give everyone a second. I will turn your names off so I won't name and shame you. You can get by all means. Entry and exit slips, excellent. Thank you for your contribution, whoever was first to respond there. If I could, I'd give you a Mars bar. Diagnostic tests, excellent. Quizzes, Kahoot quizzes, so good. Observations, yep. Videos. Oh, that's a really good idea, little videos. Cool, yeah, Kahoot quizzes. Oh, CTJ meetings, yeah, samples. Awesome. Plickers, Seesaw. Yeah, these are all great. So look, I can, just so you know, I can kind of pull out these and have a look at them. So in my presentation today, I will definitely be looking at some of the inbuilt quiz features that we have in our technology, and then also like surveys and observations. Videos we can do, but I haven't actually I haven't included that in my presentation. But yeah, very creative kind of way to be able to capture the student learning. Thank you for everyone for making a contribution there. Let's get into it. So look, what I'm going to do first of all is I'm going to focus on the software. So most of our educators at the moment use our notebook software more than they're using our Smart Learning Suite online. And slowly we're getting sort of more teachers a bit more comfortable in that cloud space. So what I thought I'd do is I'd give you some examples if you just use the software, what you could do. But then I'm going to take it, I'm going to turn it up a notch, and I'm going to put it into the cloud platform, if you like, and just show you sort of, yeah, how much more power we can get, or impact, I should say, from that space. So look, here's the first one for you. Really simple, really quick and easy, like a bit of a classroom poll. What do you already know about the subject, okay? What I like about this one though is it's kind of got these little pictures. Here, I can start it for you. By all means, if you want to pop anything in here, you can, but I'm really just sort of showing you this slide just to show you that I've kind of put these little pictures as well, okay? So this gives a nice little thing for my students to kind of have a look at. So we might have like gone through some content, and I'm trying to gauge from them what they're feeling. So this is about, it's not just about me asking those questions and getting them to answer, and I'm just looking at what they got right and wrong, but how are they feeling about it? And this is like sort of tapping into that student voice piece, okay? So what is it from my student that, you know, they're getting that's really clear? So clear skies, I'm really getting this, yeah? And then I've got cloudy, I'm mostly understanding but have a few questions, and foggy, I'm a little confused and unsure still. So I get this sort of nice snapshot of which students are feeling what, but also what content has come out really clearly and what content perhaps I need to go over because most of my students are feeling a little bit foggy on it. This is a really quick and easy one. It's called, like, that again is just the shout it out. So for those of you wanting to know, if you haven't made one already, I'll just step it through quickly again. So the Space Invader, you scroll down to the shout it out. In this example though, what we've done is I've made categories, okay? So I can make my clear skies, cloudy and foggy, yeah? And foggy. So that's all I've done with that one there. And then it gives me my three categories. So I'm not going to actually overwrite that one because I like my little pictures there. And that's it. And then again, we just get the students to be using their devices. This one is device centric, to go to hellosmart.com, pop it in, and then they throw their answers up on the board just like we've done today. That's a quick and simple one. I'm sure you're doing stuff like that already. Another cool one that I use was Shout It Out in conjunction with the spinners and the dice, because we love the spinners and the dice so much. They're used quite a lot. Oh, I just got a question coming in. I saw that pop up. So let me have a look. Oh, great. Thanks for popping. Some people have put some of their answers in the chat. Maybe they couldn't connect to hellosmart.com. All right, thanks for that. Cool. So what I can also do here in my, I can use my dice or my spinners, and I can just, if I just move that, is that going to let me, yeah, move it up a bit, just so I can get my screen happening nicely for you. And this is a cool way to use them in conjunction with one another. I actually have to hit start before I can close this little window. Again, if you want to pop something up, you're more than welcome. But I get them to, so what I do here is on this shouted out, it's a random page. So I haven't done any categories, okay? So it's a blank page, and then I get the student to roll it up. Okay, out of what we've just learned, give me a one-word summary, and then bang, they get on their devices and they do one-word summary. Or I might choose, I'll mainly choose like 3 of these. So something I already knew that you covered today, but I actually already knew it. Yeah, so they feel really empowered by that. Like, oh, that's great. But I actually knew that bit and what I want to remember. So these are really fun. For those of you that don't know where to find the dice, just really quickly, it's in the gallery, so that little picture up there. And I know I go really fast in these sessions, so I just want to put it out there. We just like to get through a lot. There'll be recordings, okay? So I'm not expecting you to learn and remember everything that we're doing right now, okay? All right, so here we go. We just type it in dice, and then it comes up as I want to make sure I've got the interactive and multimedia. Yeah. And when I pull that out like that, and for the spinner, you just search spinner. Get it? Cool. So when I do pull out my dice, what I can do in settings is I can actually customize it. I could pop text in. So if I do text, I can actually go there and pop in my text. Yeah. And then I'm sort of finished and it rolls up. So I made it colorful, and I got, you know, put a few ideas there. And this one here as well, like with a particular concept, the spinner works really nice. It's like these are all, and this is for my senior English more than the junior, but I mean, you definitely do it in the junior as well, but just getting them to use these different thinking processes. So like, yes, you might know the information that we've just gone through or the new concept that we've just covered, but can you summarize it for me? Can you explain it? And what's the difference between those different processes? If I'm getting you to evaluate something, what does that mean, or predict? So they're really fun, and they, again, just putting the ball in the student's court with, you know, rolling these things up. I give them the choice. Do you want to roll the dice, or should we use the spinner? So they're sort of having that go and making those choices in this whole sort of assessment process. Okay. So look, they're pretty sort of straightforward. The other things as well, look, you know, if you don't have student devices, your students aren't using devices, but you love these ideas, by all means, you just use the same sorts of these tools, and then you just get students to come up and write their idea on the board. They don't have to have the shouted out for this one here, or even this one here. They can just do that in the physical space rather than the digital space. All right, one of the absolute favorites from all the kids, and this does happen at the end of a unit, but it's not a summative assessment. So this is the game show. You won't be able to hear the audio actually, but it's got the cheesiest game show music, and I'll show you in a minute how I've built it. But for those of you as well, I can't push this one out to devices. This is a play on the board, but this is basically you split the room in 2, and you have your 2 teams. And then basically I do get a game show host to come up. So one of my students will spin the wheel, and then they ask organisms that use sunlight energy to produce their own food. What are they called? What are they called? I don't know. This isn't actually mine. I've borrowed it. No, that's not right. So then they give it a next, it goes to the next team, and then the next team chooses, and that's correct. And then they start getting points and they spin it. So it's a really, really super fun way just to be able to do those quizzes, if you like, but really have the students sort of, take charge of that and to lead it by having the game show host and having, you might even have team leaders I've done it that way, where if their team then sort of calls on one of their members to answer the question and stuff like that. So it's a really sort of nice way for them as well to be working kind of in those small groups and collaboratively to get the answer. So yeah, really super fun. So what's really cool about this one as well is I'll show you how it's made. We go back to our Smart Lab, our little arcade of templates here, and this one is called Game Show. So I just went to Game Show and I clicked on it. I'll show you in edit mode just what it looks like. So once I've clicked in it, basically to bring up a template that's a blank template, and I come through and I choose is it a multiple choice or true false? Well, this one's a true false, and I put in my questions there and then select the if it's true or false there. So if you can see, if I add a question, let's just make it true, false. Smart is the best. Is that true? Yes, it is. And I would select true there. Yep. And add a question and so on and so forth. Okay. Once you hit next, you can do things like you can have them randomized. So you might want to run this, you could run this quiz a couple of times and see, if the students get better at the questions, but it's also good to randomize it in that case. They're not memorizing. Then the other thing as well, so actually if I just go back one step, what I want to do to this content here, I'll actually just delete that one. Oh, bugger, deleted the whole lot. Let's go back. Didn't expect that to happen. I thought it was just going to delete the question. Don't do that. So what I want to do here in mine is anytime I'm putting content into a Smart Lab activity, I definitely want to hit this save button. And what it's doing is it's saving the content, okay? So I think this one was like organisms. Organisms 2, I'll just name it. And then basically it saved all those questions. So maybe I just did a game show in my last, like in the class that we had the day before, and I want to just mix it up a little bit. What I could then end up doing is just grabbing that content and putting it in a different quiz. So again, I go to my Space Invader and I might choose Monster Quiz this time. So then Monster Quiz, we go Monster Quiz here, and I hit this little load button and I can find my organisms questions and it loads it all up. And now I've got it in Monster Quiz. So guys, this is actually a really fun one. I don't think we're going to have time to play it because I just looked at the time. We've only got half an hour to go. But for those people that are still active, I've got 5 that have disconnected, but 4 of you that are still there, what you can see is if I hit start on here, it'll populate my students into teams when I hit divide into teams, and I could say 3 teams. And then it kind of pops people into teams, and I can do things like I can manipulate those teams, or customize, I should probably say, not manipulate. It's not a very nice word, is it? And I can then hit start quiz and you'll get told who you're in. This is a super fun one. It is device centric, just so you know. And then basically you have your students. Oh, good work, JA. Mystery boxes, going through the questions, answering them, and you can kind of see there. Again, it's really fun. So it's fun to have this screen that you're seeing here up on the board. And then the students are all kind of, there's also a bit of chaos, but I love that in my classroom. People kind of yelling because they know who's in their teams. And everyone actually has to go through each of the questions. So it's not just randomly picking a question. If you get it wrong as a student, you'll be filtered back to that question until you get it right. So it's actually a really cool way to do assessment, like it's quite informal in that, you know, where it's more for the students and their progress, so they know, oh, they got that wrong, but they're also sort of in that team environment, a little bit of healthy competition as well. And so it really sort of propels them to do their best. So it's really cool. Oh, I don't think we're going to get to the end, guys, but fire breathers, I'm going to give it to you. So what they're really cool as well, because we get data in a review from the monster quiz, and we can kind of go through and see, we get some analytics as well on sort of the time it took for people to answer questions and who got what right. So they're just some really fun quizzes, if you like, that we have available in both our software, and these are also available on our online platform as well. So moving on to something a little bit more sort of complex, and this is where we're really starting to tap into the idea of students using their own results and using the feedback they're getting from these types of tests and assessments that we're pushing out to guide them in their own teaching and learning program. So what I'm about to show you now is what we call a SMART response. So this is a more formalized assessment tool, and it is a formative assessment tool. We rarely use it for summative assessment, and we'll have a little go at this. So if you have jumped off myhellosmart.com class, if I could just get you to join again. I think I'm actually the one that's disconnected. I'm trying to do too many things at once. I can, if yours is saying you've been blocked out, just leave the class and come back in. So basically what happens with these particular, it's like a test, and it is like if you've made a Kahoot, it's the same kind of, it's very similar in the way that you build it. So it's the tick that you've got here, okay? So that tick is the assessment tool. You will find it in Smart Lab as well. It's called Smart Response. So if I go to the tick there, what will open up is, again, a template, and I just pop in the content, okay? So I select my question type. If I show you here in edit mode, you'll be able to have a look at how I've built it. Now, I'm not going to go too far into this. I really want you to get the experience of why I've got this particular pre-test, I call them, that then filters students into differentiated activities, okay? So I've just built it out. Multiple choice, I've selected for that one. I've added an image, you know, and I've made them. So with this particular one, because I want to use it as a basis of understanding student sort of grouping. So who are needing to be in that kind of really heavily scaffolded group that need the more support? Who are those learners that are kind of in that middle range where they need some support but are quite independent? And then who's at that sort of top range where you know, they're just going to take it and run with it? They're those independent because they get the concepts and they're off and running. So what you do is you build out these tests to be very simple in the beginning, and obviously you can see I've got the visual aids there to help, and then it starts getting more and more complex and complicated with ideas and concepts of fractions here. So that gives me what is spat out at the end there is a really good sort of I can kind of tell where my students are at. So look, let's just take this. But I'm gonna actually go into my Smart Learning Suite online now, okay? And that's not going to worry for you. You're just in my digital classroom, but I'm going to swap out of the software now and into my online platform. So, and I'll tell you why in a second. But for those of you that just use the software, you can make these assessments in the software itself, okay? But the reason why I'm going to Smart Learning Suite online now is because I'm going to share this resource with you And basically what you're going to do is take the test, and based on your results, you're going to have these options to be able to click through these differentiated programs. And so this is where we're really tapping into self-paced learning, and that is, a great example of giving students choice and voice. Okay, so if it's self-paced, they're taking responsibility, they're kind of knowing where their levels are at, and also the voice in terms of if they're feeling a little bit too challenged, they can always have that choice to come back and take another pathway. So this works in a Smart Learning Suite Online context. So let's pop in there now. Cool. So here I am. Where am I? Here. Oh no. Oh, sneak peek. Oh, I thought I had it open. Here we go. Smart Learning Suite Online. So for those of you that haven't been in here before, but you've got a Smart account, you can plug in suite.smarttech.com. Oh, I've got questions. Hold on. Okay, let me just click this while it's going. Oh, some people got logged out of the game. Sorry, that's all right. It's good for letting me know. Thank you. Sorry, Susanna, for that, but I'll get you to come in. Hopefully you can come in. We'll start the process again, okay? All right. So for those teachers, yeah, suite.smarttech.com, and you just use your login there. And then Rachel, if you sorry, I'm just looking at the chat again. If you just wanted to refresh your page on the browser, maybe even we'll just close it off and start again. But that shouldn't have happened. It should, it should sort of be able to come back into a classroom. So here it is here, the webinar I've just got on the formative assessment. And basically what I'm going to do now is I'm going to push it out to you. And before I do that, I want to just show you a couple of things. So what I did was I added this, this notebook just by importing. So you hit the plus button, import a resource. For those of you that are running Notebook 20, you can actually now go to File, Share, and share directly to your Smart Learning Suite Online account. You might not know that about Notebook 20, but that's probably the biggest update we've had in the software. And it'll ask you to upload to Smart account. Yeah, and then that means it automatically populates in your cloud account. So that's pretty fun. Sorry, just some more questions coming in. I want to make sure. Yeah, yep, it does say waiting for teacher. I haven't started a new activity yet. So when I start a new activity, hopefully you'll get pulled back into it. We'll see how we go. So once we're in here, a couple of things that I want to, so when I made the notebook, I made these pages that I wanted to be able to turn into activity pages for my students to be completing. So obviously some of the games, all the games, each student will get an individual copy of the games, which is fine. But there are these other pages here that I want to make into, and I've done one, into a handout. Excuse me. So basically what's happening is I want to be able to have this page where students can go onto their device and they can edit this page. So in order to do that, I need to convert it to activity. And I want to make it a handout activity. Cool. So I'm happy with all of those now. So what we're going to do is I'll get you to join this resource, and then we will sort of complete it as a student would. So you're getting that sense of what the assessment does, and then what, how it enables you looking at your results. By all means, I have not just done a session on fractions, so we don't have to kind of, I'm not testing you in that sense. It doesn't matter if you get it wrong. In fact, it's good because then I can show people. So at the moment here, I've got most people, I think that's in my digital classroom. I think someone's just popped their hand up, waiting for okay, great. So now hopefully I've got everyone in there. If I don't, you just put some ideas in it in the chat, and I can do that for you. So what I've got here is if I start that for the class, now you get a copy of the assessment. All right. Now you can see on my page there as a teacher, I'm getting this view where I can see what my students are doing and how quickly they're answering the questions. Okay. So I'm just going to fly through this. By all means, take the test, guys. You can play on it for me. Is it just me that's doing it? It looks like it's just me that's doing it. I can also sort of see as well, question by question, who's finished what. And I've got a few more that are finishing it. By all means, you don't even have to read the question. I'm just like randomly selecting answers just for the sake of this. So what happens is after that assessment, the students then they've got a chance to review their answers. Yeah. And then they can submit all answers. All right. So I can see as well from my settings cog how my students are going. So I can see that Molly's finished up first here. She's done it all. So I'll be really mindful of this information and having it on the smartboard, or if you're running a remote class on your Zoom screen, okay, because this can be quite sensitive, and some students would get really nervous if they see other kids kind of going a lot faster than them. I'm able to access this on my phone. Yes, you can definitely. So Sosfina, you can definitely access it on your phone or an iPad. It's any internet-enabled device. Okay, and the way that people access it is just to go to hellosmart.com. So look, I'm going to actually just end that activity for everyone there, and we get our results. So great little snapshot. We get the results as a student. So if you look at your page, your student view is that, you know, we're starting to tap into quantified self. So the kids taking stock and measurement of their own results. This for me was a game changer, particularly in my French classes, because instead of just marking a test, giving them a result, they'd look at the sort of, 60% and throw it in the bin. This actually pushes them through each one and shows you what you got correct and what you got incorrect, but what the correct answer was. So that was really powerful in terms of students then taking on, oh, well, I got that wrong, but this is the right answer. And that seemed to like really solidify their understanding on things. So look, we can go through as a class together and we can look at the results. And obviously just as a snapshot, you can see really quickly kind of what maybe you need to sort of plug in terms of, those holes that we're finding in our formative assessment. But what I've also done here is I'm able to hit that export results, yeah, and get this tidy little spreadsheet, okay? So I get this awesome spreadsheet and I can really see the gaps in my teaching and learning. What you also get as a student as well is just that when they understand, so right on their end page, it'll say what percentage you got. And like for me, I got 21%. That's pretty bad. So I would then be, as my students, what I tell them is that they'd be in certain groups depending on their results, okay? And I'll talk through that a bit further in a minute. But this spreadsheet is amazing. First of all, I'm not having to mark tests. Amazing, awesome. Second thing that I'm using this for is that I'm able to look at my student results, and then I'm able to sort of either make groupings myself based on skills and abilities and results, or I could, with my older students, I'm actually telling them what kind of group that they would be in based on their own results. So they're monitoring more about their own progress. The other things that I've got here is the fact that I can see the gaps in my teaching and learning. So all the red is showing me those areas that I need to plug up before moving on. There's things as well that I might have to go through and see an individual student as well because they didn't fare so well. So it's a really useful data export, if you like, from that assessment. But this is where, like, you know, that's all teacher stuff. I'm loving it, but I really want to sort of show you then how I then put it into the hands of my students. Okay, so what I do here is I turn this resource into student pace. You'll get a notification to say that you can move freely through this resource. And this is my little home page for my students, and they know this, and I go, great guys, depending on what group you've been put into, and for the littlies, I would definitely be allocating, like, you know, I'd put up on the list on the board who's in the yellow group, who's in the green group, and who's in the blue group. But these are for the older kids to be able to go through. Now you see on my page, if I just clicked through, if you click on one of those boxes, it's going to take you to that activity. I would normally have more activities, but I just wanted to make a really streamlined resource for today. So I'm in the yellow group. I need to go back to basics. So I click through and I do the match them up activity on fractions. So then I get to sort of practice, and all the while, all my students are doing all different activities depending on sort of where they're at. So then, you know, this one here, I might get, oh yeah, oh, that's not right. And I get to practice, and I get more understanding and more exposure to those basic skills. When I've completed that one, I can move up, and then it kind of gets gradually sort of bigger and bigger. So I'm also giving my students the ability to improve. Okay, so to challenge themselves to get through some tasks and to move up. So hopefully you're clicking through that resource yourself, and you can kind of see how, as a student, how you'd use it. I've just got another question come in. Can you add to the data weekly, etc.? Well, given that it's a Excel spreadsheet, so that was Rachel. Yeah, so given that it's an Excel spreadsheet, what I end up doing is I make little tabs for my student tabs, and I copy and paste like results, and then I'll get them to maybe, I always do this as in two parts. I'll do this as a pre-test, and then I do a post-test, and I like hope to God that their results have improved, and then they can see that too, and they often do, really, because they've had the practice, they've kind of delved into the content a bit more and connected to it more, so their results sort of improve. So again, that's really good. But yeah, in terms of adding the data, if you're talking about adding to the assessment or to the test itself, yes, you can in edit mode. Or if you're talking about adding to that data spreadsheet, yes, you can. It's not locked down. Cool. So hopefully sort of you're getting a good idea then of these, you know, taking like a notebook that we've created in the software and putting it into this space. And look, it doesn't have to be a notebook. It can be a PowerPoint or a PDF, and that we can share these resources with our students, and that they can complete these activities, right? So then, of course, I've got the post test, and I might just kind of filter everyone back into teacher view. See, I'm not competing with the device. I've now pushed you back into the page that I want you to be in. So now we do the same test again and see those results. So what time are we at? So we've got about 10 minutes. So the cool things that I wanted to show you really quickly are some of the other formative assessment templates that we have already in Smart Learning Suite Online. So what I've shown you so far is a couple of cool things that you could do in the software, how you could then as well create like a resource and pop it into the cloud space, the Smart Learning Suite Online. And then what I'm going to show you now is so maybe you've got a PDF or a PowerPoint that you want to use, but you want to put some other formative assessment tools in there, okay? So I'll just come back to this little screenshot I've got here of some of the ones that we'll go through now, okay? So there's a lot of ready-made templates already for you. And basically, if I just went from, let's just go from the beginning and we can just say, I could import, like I said, I could import a PowerPoint or a PDF as well in here, but I'm just going to start with some of those templates that are already there. So maybe I want to do an activate prior knowledge beforehand, and you can see that we've got some shouted out templates and they're already made for you. I know that someone said on the first shouted out that they do entrance and exit tickets. So here's an entrance ticket there. So I might start with something like that. And then I might have my pages of content. And I'm just going to show you quickly. It's going to pop it into the editing space. Okay. I've got a few people draining on the bandwidth today. Sorry. Got the webinar running and this running. Okay. All right. In the interest of time, let's just go back to some of the other templates that we've got. Cool. So other templates that you would find, so obviously you can see here as well that there's, if you want to make your own shout it out, there's the response and there's the games as well. So the games, you know, you can be using in a, as like an informal formative assessment. I'll tell you how to capture that in a minute. So there's also questions and reflections, right? So these are all of our little formative assessment golden nuggets, okay? They're very much sort of, you know, these templates that we've done are really based around the thinking routine. So we've sort of spoken to teachers about, you know, what are you already doing and how can we make a kind of digital version of it? So there's so many here for you to choose from. 6-word summary, 1-minute paper. There's, you know, basically what happens with these. So for example, with the 1-minute paper, what we can do here, it's going to give me grief again, isn't it? Is basically it's a template that will already be in the form of a handout, okay? So it's already made it into a handout for you. So when you've got that one there, see, here we go. It's a handout. I don't have to convert it to an activity. I could if I want. I've got a little audio guy here that I could start. I'd like you to give me a 1-minute paper on persuasive techniques. Yeah, and I could add that little audio in there. And then so when I'm happy with that, and that's obviously that little audio piece has been added in light of all of our remote learning that's happening globally, just that ability for us to be able to put in an instructional piece for our students if you haven't come across that already. So here we go here, and if I just start it for you guys, and hopefully I've still got some people in my class. I've got 7 of you on the line. Awesome, thanks for hanging in there, guys. So here's the little 1-minute paper. So each of you will get your own copy of that now, and then you've got as a student, you've got your little editing features on the side. So if anyone just wants to hit start on that, see if I open up my phone again. Yep, start. You can see the students here that pop up on, this is like your student dashboard to see who started, okay? So mine's just loading. Now I've got my phone competing with it as well. And then you can see you've got your text box that you can add text to, or you can, if you're there on a tablet, they can even use their so I should have Molly. Oh, that's right. Saying teacher handout first. Once I've done the teacher handout and I can model the activity for them, I can then go back and, oh, that's strange because I am in here. That's my bandwidth, guys. Sorry, I'm on a webinar. I'm running SLSO and I'm on my phone and I've got a home work from home as well sitting next to me. Okay, cool. in any case, if you haven't seen it before, your students all pop up here and they populate on this page. I might just refresh it. They populate on the page for you. And what you're able to do is you're actually able to tap into each of those students and give them direct feedback. So they can kind of actually pop in. They can pop into, you can pop in to the student work. Hopefully mine's come up now. Yeah, yay, great guys, thank you. And I can go into Molly's, for example, and I could maybe ask her to elaborate, or I might give them, and it goes straight to their page and they get that. So they're getting that direct and instant feedback from you. So again, a really nice way to find out where they are and try and push them up to that next level through feedback, which is so powerful. Cool. So I can say that KS is finished as well. And again, I'm just going to take a little screenshot to see who's been doing some of my activities. Thank you. Awesome. And you see the little audio as well that you've got up there if you haven't seen that feature before. So look, that's look it in a nutshell. We've got 5 minutes, so I did just want to quickly go through a couple of other things with you. Pop your questions in now as well. What I've done for you here, and I'll give you the link, is you'll get this resource too. So just so you can kind of see, and it has those pages as well that I made for my students, and you can kind of click through and figure out how I built it. But what I've got in that notebook as well, and I'll put this in the chat, is this awesome link to, and I can't take credit for this, but my colleague in Calgary has created for different ideas of formative assessments and maybe sort of how you can do that with SMART. Okay, so these are some cool ideas for formative assessment. Most of these, so when my colleague made this, it was really centered around the software. Desktop software, but you'll find even different examples in all of those great templates that I just showed you in Smart Learning Suite Online that you'll be able to sort of add there as well. So hopefully surely I can chat with you guys. Let me find this. Will we get all this? Yes, you'll definitely get this information. I will send it through to you guys in a follow-up email. My usual moderator, Kenny, will send out when there's a recording, and then we'll share the resource as well with you so everyone will get that. How can I chat with you? Hopefully everyone gets this. So this is the link there. That's the link to the Google Doc. You'll all get it though as well when you receive this file. So look, there's a lot in there. I know sort of we whizzed through quite a few of them, but there are there's some great stuff in there, and hopefully I've inspired some ideas for you. So look, just before you get off the call, and please sort of hold on, because remember the survey gets pushed out at the end, so you have to stay on until the end for those NESA people. So look, what I did want to show you here, is we have our conference, okay? And I don't know if you guys have, oh, that has gone green for some reason. If you guys have seen this, hopefully you have. There are some amazing things happening at this conference. Again, I'll pop this link in the chat for you. So look, have a scroll through. If you haven't, there's a register here button, but we've got phenomenal keynotes. So these are all international keynotes. I'm pretty sure you'd be very familiar with them already. We also have 3 host schools. Actually got 4. We've got one from New South Wales and Queensland and Northern Territory all sharing about how they teach beyond the walls of the classroom. We've got an amazing panel and we'll also hear from South Melbourne Park about their experiences in lockdown 1 versus lockdown 2 with remote learning. We've got a really cool exhibition hall as well. I'll give you guys a sneak peek. So this is our exhibition hall. All these amazing partners that are going to be there, like independent Schools Victoria, and ESA, which is a really big one. And yeah, so it's a really sort of fun, full event. It is virtual, as you can see in this fantastic little world that you'll find yourselves in. So you guys are getting a sneak peek, unless you're on the call last week. On the webinar, and I will also apologise for the technical difficulties we had last week if you were, but this is it. It's really fun. There's exhibit halls, there's all these research papers that you can get access to, and you even get to sort of come into like our auditorium and feel like we're connecting with people and click through, and we'll have that's where we'll have Professor Stephen Heppel and everyone else, and then go out to our breakout tracks, which will be our mini workshops from our teachers. So please, if you can make it, it'll be amazing. The content will be available for the week as well next week. So register, even if you can't make it on Monday. And there's also other really cool, we've got like a Teach Meet sessions called Smart After Dark that's running in the evenings from Tuesday to Thursday as well, where we're bringing in again sort of our global community, so presenters and our global audience as well, for people to really be connecting with one another. So that's really fun. So there's a lot happening there. I'll pop the link in the chat. If you wanted more information around that, please don't hesitate to get in contact with me. My email address, I think, came up at the beginning there, and there it is. So I'm Molly Turner at smarttech.com, and you can follow me on Instagram at MollySmartAU. That takes us to time. I'm 1 minute over. So yeah, by all means, if you want that little certificate, then we'll let you know when the recording's up on the website to get that. But for those NESA people, make sure that you complete the survey that's going to pop up when I hit close on this webinar. And by all means, guys, don't forget to always visit our Smart Exchange. So just Google Smart Exchange for all your free classroom resources. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you guys joining me online today. I hope it's been inspiring. I hope you get ideas from it, and I will send you the resource, so you do have sort of something that you can go off as well. Please let me know if you need anything else. Thank you, everybody.